All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Mars and Scorpio getting ready to do a lot of things in the next month. Mars and Scorpio will trine Lilith, which is now in Virgo, a very interesting Lilith sign, highly sexual, okay, really wants to reproduce. But separate from that, you're going to have Mars in opposition to Jupiter at some point around 10 degrees, I believe, or so. You're going to have Mars trining Neptune and Pisces. I'm going to try to do my best to break down all of this and go week by week on the Mars transiting its home or domicile planet, Scorpio. Before I move any forward, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. I do want to make that early mention again. On October 21st, we are running an eclipse event. Currently, there are people who are buying 10 plus raffles on average. Some have brought a lot more. All right, I might put them up on screen so you can see screenshot wise. You really want to go ahead and get that free reading. If you wanted a reading, but you know it might be not necessarily in the price range that you're at, the raffle is a great way where, you know, if you're a member, the event is only $3. If you're not a member in our Astro Economy, then the event is $8. Okay, a little bit more than double what the members are, but that's part of the benefits of being a member. Our members are also meeting up this Sunday as a little quick announcement, and we're going over squares. So everybody's going to be able to bring their chart, and we're going to talk about squares and their charts. So it's very personal, right? And then we might use a couple celebrity charts and how those squares compare to events that we might have actually seen on the news, right? And things that we might not have seen. So before I go any further, check out this Venetian Convergence Eclipse event, ladies and gentlemen. It's down here. Link is in my bio. You might be able to also click right up here and see the little picture pop up. So that's it. Let's move forward. We have Mars. I'm gonna try to see if I can put this up on screen. We have Mars, which is now currently in its home sign, Scorpio. So day one is October 12th, and this looks like it's already going to be sextiling Virgo and Lilith. Okay, now it's also going to be trining pretty much exact Saturn and Pisces at 0 degrees, which is still, if I'm not mistaken, in retrograde period. So Saturn and Pisces, this Scorpio Mars energy, we're going to actually be taking action on forgiveness. Okay, why? Because during Libra season, you started to become more aware of who your open enemies are. Okay, enemies that you have to deal with on a regular basis. You know they're there, you know they exist. You might act real fake and posh with them, possibly even passive aggressive, but the North Node is asking us to stop doing that. And the North Node in Aries is a key player. The North Node in Aries, as well as Chiron in Aries, a key player, because again, the home planet of Aries is Mars, right? And so Mars and Scorpio have a natural symbiotic relationship. Aries being the masculine understanding and version of Mars, and Scorpio being the feminine octave of Mars. But we also need to consider as well the modern ruler of Scorpio, which is Capricorn. Which is Pluto, but Pluto is in Capricorn. So this is going to help us dive into some of the global events, okay, and what you're known for, what your reputation has to do on the global power scale, and how you can make a difference. All right, so let's step back a little bit. Aries is a key indicator in this. Okay, we're gonna have to keep coming back to Aries, so hopefully I remember. Now the first thing I see is Mars trine Saturn. This for me is when you now recognize who your open enemies are, it's a learning how to be strategic and realize that, okay, how do you really use those open enemies to climb the social ladder, which is a part of it, right? If you're in a law office, you have lawyers, and all those lawyers want to become senior partner, or they want to become a named partner in the firm, right? You have other lawyers who you're competing with where your numbers, your performance really needs to stand out. Mars and Scorpio is the kind of energy where it's no longer doing the, you know, passive aggressive energy. It's no longer trying to, you know, be fake posh, fake nice. It's just like, look, I'm strong, I'm intense, but I'm going to maintain my intentions in private. I'm not going to be so obvious about my next move. I'm going to look at my move, I'm going to look at strategy. I'm going to do my best to be loyal in the process of what I do, even though I'm trying to gain power over you and make you essentially my subordinate. I'm trying to become the boss of you. I'm going to look at who are the people in that firm that I can merge with. So it's like, okay, if these are the people on my level, I'm already not trying to merge with them. I'm trying to merge with somebody that will make me more powerful. And this is what Scorpio does. And you want to be mindful with Mars and Scorpio of doing this with a certain sense of immediacy, a certain sense of urgency, where you might betray your own integrity. You might betray yourself. You might self-sabotage yourself and your success. Mars and Scorpio is a very goal-orientated and driven energy. Okay, it's very powerful and it wants to have power over other people. Now, if you don't fall into that category, you might fall into the category of other people having power over you. Now, on the lower octaves, personal opinion, this is the lower octave. This comes into sexual relationships, of allowing somebody to have power over you in a physical intimacy contact relationship. That's the lower octave. On a higher octave of this sexual energy, you're really looking to pair partners that you can have sacred sex with. Someone where you can come at me as a male and come to my female counterpart, or vice versa, and say, look, we have this intention, okay? I want to help stabilize ourselves during this eclipse, and I want to use and save all our sexual energy to be able to come in the most potent during, this Astro Shaman's eclipse event on October 21st. And so I want to redirect all our sexual energy, which means I do not want to nut, but I still want to have a physical, intimate, and contact-based relationship with you. I even still want to insert you and, fill you up with my love, but not necessarily with my seed. And so it's like maturity now coming to, this is Scorpio having to answer to the high octave of Capricorn, restriction, retaining, being efficient with your energy and redirecting it towards either a career purpose or to essentially make your whole life system as a whole more efficient, which is what Capricorn is. Coming in at the exalted degree of 27 degrees. Pluto is in 27 degrees, so it's exalted in this area, and it's very potent. But it's also why the news is showing such violence in the underworld of reality, whether it's kidnappings, child rape, molestation of your principles, of your values, of your morals. Okay, feeling like you're being molested by a politician, of like, wow, like, not necessarily in a physical sense, but on the career level of like, okay, I'm a woman, but I'm not getting the praise and the energy and attention, the acknowledgement which Capricorn wants, but it feels like it earned it, especially when it earned it, that I deserve. So Mars and Scorpio is really going to reveal and help us to investigate on when did we pretty much align with a superpower that ultimately put us in shackles and chains, like the devil card energy, where you have, the male and the female, or the demon and the human, locked and shackled to an immovable object. And this is where Mars and Scorpio, you can find yourself really playing into a very disempowered narrative. Now, considering Saturn is naturally the ruler of Capricorn, we have the ability with this Pisces energy to actually dissolve what those chains and those shackles were, and to do it with a certain sense of forgiveness, a certain sense of compassion. Today, I specifically wore my rose quartz on my arm, on my chest, and I also have like more rose quartz here, but like Morgan Barrel and Rhodanita, to really help me to heal the emotional damage of, when did I give my power away? When did I, put myself in a disempowered narrative, especially even in sexual relationships? And how can I now model what it means to be in a sacred environment, especially with my sexual energy? So now it's like I have a lot of guys that I'm mentoring and helping them understand, as men, how do we reverse the narrative and essentially really take our power back and, share it accordingly, and also with the right people, which all this Libra energy is really kind of helping us with, because we have to understand Venus is in Virgo, which is really trying to, again, take care of our physical body. Lilith is in Virgo. Again, it's trying to really get with this Scorpio energy, right? Who's sextiling Virgo, is really making sure that we nurture and take care of our body from and by the foods that we eat, and understanding that the people you eat is a part of the food that you eat. You understand what I'm saying? You eat people's behaviors, you eat people's habits, you eat people's routine. So when you're around people who wake up in the morning and they begin to do breath work together, all right? Or you wake up with people and they begin to do physical manipulation and get energy and emotions that are trapped in past wounds out of their body. This is what a sextile energy is. You need to do something physical. Mars is a physical sign. Okay, Virgo is an earth sign. It's, again, physical world. With this sextile energy, you have the opportunity to actually get rid of tired out traumas and pains that have been stored, trapped, and stuck in your body. And with that trining energy to Saturn, another physical planet, but in Pisces, a metaphysical and, etheric type of energy that is all and nothing at the same time, we have the ability to do this through multiple timelines. So by me doing emotional freedom tapping here and on these meridian points, right, I now not only lock Pernell Bobby in 2023 October of Earth 776, but I unlock him on planet Sirius 776, 779, right? A whole different timeline, dimension, and reality. So this is where the trining energy is there. Now, as I move forward, we are also going to be finding that I'm going to go a week forward ahead. Okay, now I'm looking at that was one day. Let me go a week. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button, ladies and gentlemen, if you're rocking with this channel. Check out the eclipse event. It's going to be there. There's last minute, there's one spot left for a female at the retreat. To be honest, you notice I probably haven't said much about that, but there's literally only one spot left for a female at the retreat. If that's you want to know more, ask questions. Okay, so hit the thumbs up, the likes button. I'll see you at the eclipse event. So now you have this Mars, which will eventually something small, something slight. It's going to sextile the moon. I'm not going to go that heavy into that right now. I don't think that's something, that's just a day, 2 days, right? And then it's going to move forward. But, okay, as I dip another week forward, this is when we have Mars around 10 degrees. It's going to be, and eventually it'll be at 11. It's going to completely go opposition to Jupiter. So Mars-Jupiter type opposition between these two fixed energies really might have you challenge your faith. Realize where have you iced over, because Mars as a planet is actually very, very cold. It's extremely cold. This is the cutthroat off with your head energy that people get from whether Aries or Scorpio. Like when they kill you, you're dead, you lose, right? And these two signs are very obsessed with winning. But with Jupiter, Jupiter is a higher octave planet. It's a social contract. So we really want to be mindful of our urge to win at all costs and realize that, you can use that same violent type energy, that cutthroat energy, that win at all costs energy, to create a plan where, now on a global standpoint, we've investigated and understand that foods have been making us obese, and they've been, harming our natural talents and abilities, and also calcifying our pineal glands and locking up our spiritual abilities. Mars and Scorpio has the ability to kind of now cut through some of the hardened emotions, or what could be considered ice. Mars being that very ice cold planet, it can cut through that ice block. And if we don't realize that we have pretty much frozen other people out and decided not to merge with other people, really want to kind of be selfish and build and expand our monies and our resources on our own, you're going to likely realize that you're going to suffer and you're going to die out over time. Even if you are able to monetarily, I think this is especially for people who can monetarily survive on their own. You're more likely the person who's kind of cut other people out and then realize that, like, there's power in numbers, there's power in merging, which Scorpio is here to do. And with Mars there, we have that potential and that ability to merge and to become more powerful. But also, and separate from that, to look at what's going on in the underworld, and with Jupiter, become a social liberator. All right, if you know how to do taxes and do money, that's good karma for you right now to help somebody out with their accounting, help somebody out with their taxes, help somebody out understand through your personal experience, well, how did I make it through this traumatic stage of my entrepreneurial career when I was building up my assets, whether in real estate or just in my actual home and the appliance that I have, again, to maximize the deductions that I get off of my entrepreneurial business. Like, I don't understand taxes. I know how to be an astrologer. I know how to be a shaman, but I don't know how to do taxes. You helping somebody out when you have that expertise and that skill, they will then in return kind of find a way to help you expand your own self-worth and self-esteem and confidence that you actually have a natural talent and ability that you have to offer the world as a part of your social contract. So this opposition, you can find some tension in that, especially if you find that your heart is closed. This is where you really want to find yourself in a very selfless and altruistic type frequency where, you know, you can pour from an overflowing cup and you start learning how to give to the right people. This is actually the energy leading us closer to the eclipse in Taurus. The Taurus lunar eclipse has more to do with this opposition. But Mars in Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken, this is happening on October 28th. Oh my God, yes. This happened on October 27th. Shout out to you. This is my first real girlfriend. She was a Scorpio, her birthday. Shout out to you. You helped me so much. I swear to God. You know, when I finally was able to go through all of that emotional healing, that emotional damage, I start realizing, what do I really need in an intimacy? So, you know, this is also the kind of energy where we're going to step away from the imagination of sensual pleasure and, you know, even hedonistic pleasure, step away from the physical contact and really start to look at, just because somebody banged your brains out, you know, yeah, I had an amazing night, and even if it's a couple amazing nights, doesn't mean it's the love of your life. It also doesn't mean that it's the right person for you. Mars and Scorpio, you got to watch for merging too quickly where, you know, generally this is an energy that really hides their attention. They stay mysterious on purpose so they can observe. But the reality is Mars and Scorpio has a very intense fear of being vulnerable as well as being rejected. So oftentimes what they'll do is they'll belittle or reject somebody first, or they'll subject themselves to being belittled and being disempowered. So this is the major extremisms of Scorpio. I'm empowered or disempowered. I have control, I have no control at all. And when you say that, it's like I have no control at all. Everything in my life is going, that's the ego talking. I want you then to, you know, melt the frozen ice, the frozen emotions, which is your astral connection, is your connection to the dream world. And our astral connection is a connection to all people. Through the astral realms in this 2D reality or dimension / density, you can connect with all people. But if you're frozen over, you have no access. So you can't feel what the next person's feeling. And you're more worried about being vulnerable and being rejected than, and that's the lower octaves. That's when Mars is winning. So because Mars didn't yet get to 27 degrees. It's only at 10 degrees at around October 27th. When it hits closer to 27 degrees, this is when the higher octave Mars will start to listen and understand Pluto better when it gets closer to that 27. And now it's going to say, hey, look, you know, I am an authority. Okay, I do have power. I know how to restrict my sexual energy and not give it to people who might give me an amazing one night, but ultimately ruin the next couple of years because of my natural sense of loyalty of like, once I connect, I want to stay, whether it's toxic or not. And this is the underworld frequency, okay, where you got Hades, Persephone, and, you know, before she got to the point where she begins to enjoy the fact that she gets to live up on, you know, the nature, and then below into hell. So she gets to come up and smell the flowers and enjoy the beauty of what this plant does and how it gives me life and reminds me of, you know, how connected I am to Mama Earth, or, you know, Pachamama, and then as well as the benefits of going down to hell and really seeing these shadows, really understanding, where have I, in this Libra energy, people pleased, where have I not honored Aries in the North Node, which is asking me to merge my masculine and my feminine, to say at times I need to just make a cut in that relationship because I realize that this is wrong. I realize that this does not bring me personal satisfaction and joy. I realize that this takes away my light. It takes away what makes me feel vibrant, young, innocent, and playful. And that's when this Aries energy in the North Node, as well as Chiron, is helping us right around this time frame. If I'm not mistaken, you might have around, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. Please subscribe. Check out our event, the Eclipse event coming up. Okay, so this is the next week around November 3rd. So around November 3rd, you now have, where's Chiron? Chiron is at 16 degrees, and November 3rd, you're going to have Mars at 15 degrees. So this is the time frame when you're not going to have Scorpio as well as Aries will quincunx. So when these two energies quincunx, you want to now recognize what is the difficult misunderstanding that these two energies are having, and also understand that they're still brothers and sisters. So they still really relate, link, and connect to each other in a natural way, being home owned by Mars, yet simultaneously they do quincunx. And for me, this looks like, again, not being too quick to merge, being strategic, recognizing that you can nut today with this woman or this male, or you can hold that and work together. If y'all can work together and not selfishly worry about your own momentary, in the moment, quick, one and done, sexual explosion, whatever that means. Okay, it doesn't even have to be physical sex, but a lot of times I feel like this is what it is for them. And you can work yourself into those higher octaves of like tantra, where you give somebody a yoni massage, where you might, as the male, let's say, eat out her cookie and even please her by kissing her on the neck and the body, but decide not to enter and to let her know that up front, so she now grows trust in you, where you kept your word and you didn't fall to your lower body urges, where you said, I'm only going to eat you out, and I'm going to do a little bit of foreplay. And you can even tease within that moment. Now what this does is going to increase and maximize sexual energy and potency, where when y'all do have an intention where you manifest, this is the quincunx relationship, we're really healing how we utilize our sexual energy in that quincunx. And when you do that, I'm telling you now, that might be when you do nut off and you have the intention of, I want to work in the activist areas for the people suffering in Israel and the trauma that they're going through. Y'all can then together with an intention create a podcast that seems like it comes up overnight with all this potent, stored up fixed energy of Scorpio, as well as potent, relentless, savage energy that Aries can have towards something it finds just and fair, and that it's passionate about. And y'all can go ahead and that podcast can overnight hit 1 million streams. So these are the two ways you can use this energy, and it is very potent. So this quincunx relationship, this is how Aries, you can go through this healing, all right, where you're no longer wasted. Now as I move forward, one more week in, we're gonna have the North Node. So it's about November 10th. So I'm going to say maybe like a couple days later, November 13th or so, you're going to have the North Node exactly quincunx. One more day, probably. The North Node will quincunx Aries. And now what this is kind of telling me is all those open enemies from Libra season, which pretty much is now starting to end, right? Because the South Node is still there. Venus has entered, but Mercury has left. Right, Mars is gone, the sun is gone, and so you now understand who these open enemies are. And I see 222 on screen with a 3. That was a 6 9. That 369. So whatever that numerology means for you, we now have this North Node here, and it's also opposite Uranus. Mars is also directly opposite Uranus. So this is when you might be in for that shock. Honestly, the picture and the image I'm getting right now, this is the tower moment. This is when you realize all the ways in which you lacked integrity. You realize all the ways in which you've betrayed yourself, and where you now require courage. You now require bravery to walk it alone. Now at this point, any lingering relationships has already started to cut and close and end. Why? Because the eclipse was also in Taurus. You had the lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 28th, and at this point it's November 10th. So you have a couple weeks later where it's like things are really real. Earth sign energy, Taurus is very real. Uranus is the sky father. Uranus and Taurus is the sky father. It's like, look, like you're worthy. Your self-esteem is worth more than that. This opposition, Mars opposite Uranus, it's like, look, this is a generational energy, once again, versus a personal planet. It's like your lower urges, your lower desires have no priority here. It's time to fully transform and turn, these traumatic experiences, whatever they are, into physical assets, into money, into property, into a resource that is very useful, into pouring your natural talent into the collective, where, again, you become a social liberator, whether it's money or a talent. Okay, whether it's just a skill, it's like now you have the ability, you have the power, and now we're giving you Aries North Node and quincunx. You have all the force necessary. You are the farmer. You have the ability to take this and make something very fertile. You have a potent seed. If you listen to everything I said prior, the major thing is don't freaking nut too much. Like fixed energy. Okay, Scorpio, if you can hold that, if you can retain the impulse, okay, to just, masturbate too frequently. I'm not saying not at all, like, but there's a such thing as edging where, you may just a little bit and not have a full nut, right? Talk to your partners, talk to your intimate partners. Be with intimate partners or be alone. That's another part of this quincunx relationship. Be willing to choose the path alone rather than choosing anybody, especially if it puts you in harm's way. And this is really what I have for Mars and Scorpio, ladies and gentlemen. It's a super duper intense energy. It's a time frame to be strategic. All the ideas from Libra season have already come through and you've vacillated between them. And now it's time to start cutting and killing some of those ideas that, honestly, God, have nothing to do with the future direction of where you're going. All right, this is your astro shaman, Pernell Bobby. We're generating an economy of harmony, leveraging human design and genetic astrology. This October 15th on Sunday, we're meeting our members once again, 10 a.m. Central Time. That's Central Standard Time, not daylight. I live in Mexico. But after that, we have the eclipse event. You have the chance to win a free raffle. All right, so check that out. $3 for members, $8 for everybody coming outside of that membership. If you want to join a membership, now's a great time, especially if you know that it's really keen to your heart. This is the solar eclipse in Libra, okay, which is right here, right at the time of the freaking Mars going into, working towards this tribe, this community. So I thank you. I love you for being here. I'll see you all soon, baby.